Hey everyone, I decided that today for Black Desert I am going to run through the mechanics of Gyfin Lower. I know a lot of the older players know how to utilize this area, but I figure there's at least some new people out there who could stand to learn, and a little brush up, a review probably never really hurt anybody. So I decided that I'd go through this and we'll take a look and see what we get. I'm going to run this for an hour. I'll go through the mechanics as they happen. So we'll go through the basic stuff right away. When the butcher spawns, we'll go ahead and I'll do a quick commentary on the butcher and how I handle it. Bear in mind that due to my play style and the class itself, your mileage may vary. If you're playing a different class, of course, things may be just a bit different for you. So just remember that as we go along. And if you guys have any suggestions as to how we can improve things or possibly make things better, let me know. I can always stand to learn something new myself. So I am currently unbuffed right now. I am going to be using the Magical Savage Draught from one of the previous events. I have a few left over, so I'm going to use those, along with a Perfume of Courage and a simple Cron Meal for AP buffs. I think I'm also going to go ahead and use an XP scroll. We'll go ahead and turn Agris on, and we'll also use the increased drop rate. This is to see approximately how much we get for an hour's worth of effort, or approximately an hour. And then that'll give us a better idea of what we're dealing with. I'm also going to get the 10%, the plus 10 AP and the 10% skill XP for monsters out of the tent, along with Adventurer's Luck 5, which gives you 50% drop rate. So we'll go ahead and we'll buff up real quick, and we'll see exactly what we're dealing with here. Go ahead and turn on the drop rate as well. And we'll also use Jay's special scroll to increase the drop rate from there. So as of right now, we are currently running with 320% drop rate. I'll go ahead and start the AP buffs for the perfume and the draught when we engage the first mobs. Now, the thing to bear in mind about these mobs, there's three sets of mobs. There's a blue, a purple, and a red. Blue is sort of your basic melee type mob. Red is a little more damage plus AoE, and then purple is your AoE magic. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, what I normally do is I usually pick one to start with. The main mobs will go ahead and stay inert until you actually engage them, until you damage them for the first time. So I'm just sort of running around in circles right now to try to keep these guys from beating the crap out of me. So I'm going to start by engaging this guy first. One of the things you want to keep in mind is you want to, as much as possible, you want to try to stay behind the mobs to get the back attack damage. That will help to increase the amount of damage you do. Some people also buff their back attack, which is fine. I'm kind of running off of generic buffs, so while I do have some increased back attack damage, I don't have a lot. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Wukong fighting Buddha, which increases attack speed, and also I believe it also does more damage. That'll definitely help us here. Now, when you finish off the mob, when you finish off the main mob, the one with the actual icon on them, it will give you a buff. In this case, I got the Vanished Glorious Wisdom, which is the purple buff. That will tell you which one to attack next. You will get a damage bonus from the buff by attacking the one of a matching color. And then, and of course, this is another one that it's important to stay behind as much as possible. Okay, and so this time we got the red circle, so we find the red circle, which is right here. This is our main kind of melee damage guy. And I accidentally turned off my buff, so I'll have to wait and turn it back on as soon as I get enough. I don't even know what to call it. Juice? It's a gourd. Okay, so this time we got the blue one. So now what we do is we go look around, we find the blue one. They will respawn each time you kill one of them. So just because the purple one's in a particular place this time doesn't mean that if you kill off one of the other ones that purple one will be in the same place again. It randomizes it each time. Now that can work to our advantage because sometimes what will happen is the buff that you get will be for the one that spawns at that spot. But it seems to be strictly luck. So you can't really depend on that. It will slow down your grinding, obviously, but not by a ridiculous amount. One of the things will happen is you'll get a message, something about despair. I don't know the exact wording. When I see it, I'll point it out to everybody. And that basically adds extra kind of trash mobs to the encounter that will follow you between basically the boss mobs until they're down, until that particular event goes away. I'm not sure. I believe it's on a timer, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah, I'm too busy talking and not paying attention. Attack bonus. So we got the purple, or the blue triangle this time, so we go find our blue triangle guy, which is right here, and we go around behind him. I usually try to start out behind the mob. A little extra damage never hurt anything. There are crystals to increase your back attack damage, which if you have those and you use them, then that's never a bad thing. Okay, so this one's blue again, so we go find the purple one this time. I know that for a lot of folks, you guys who have done this before, you know what the mechanics are. I'm mainly doing this as a review for the people who don't remember, and also to kind of walk everybody who's never done it through it, so that they know how to do it as well. Okay, so we have red this time, and you'll get a little message at the bottom of the screen, and the message will be color-coded to the buff. So you don't necessarily have to look at the buff. All you really have to do is look at that message at the bottom. Make note of what color the message is. If it's red, you go after the red mob. If it's purple, you go after the purple. And if it's blue, you go after the blue. And it's not that hard to figure out. So it should be reasonably obvious how to handle things. Okay, so it's blue this time, so we'll wait for the blue one. And off we go. Sorry about it being a little bit dark when I go to clear loot the first time. Since we're going to be doing this for an hour, we're going to have plenty of loot, plenty of times where we're overweight. Especially since I'm running all of the loot buffs at the same time. Okay, so this time the purple one's here, so we can just go right at it. We don't have to go anywhere. Once I start to get overweight, I'll go ahead and drop loot at my horse, and while I'm there, I'll buy a firefly from the camp, so that way everybody can see a little bit better. One of the problems in this area is it is dark, so a lot of times it's hard to see what's going on. You will get used to it after a while, and it won't be as much of an issue, but initially, if you're going to do this area and you're not overly familiar with it, it's probably a good idea to pick up a firefly to give yourself a little bit of extra light along the way. They're not expensive, so they're really not a problem to get. So blue, and blue is right here again. basically using my buffs as a timer so that I know when to move, when an hour is up. I don't have a timer running. Just basically using the buffs as a way to gauge how long it's been. Usually, doing this for an hour, I have to stop between 4 and 5 times because I don't have a whole lot of weight on this character, and so he tends to get overloaded kind of fast. I will eventually fix that, but I don't want to spend a whole bunch of real cash for a video game, at least not right now. I usually try to budget myself so that I have, I do spend some, but I don't spend, hundreds of dollars a month just to make things a little more convenient for me. If you're the type of person to do that, more power to you. I just don't happen to have the budget for that. Okay, it says that the butcher is up, so you'll get a message at the bottom when the butcher spawns, which he is right here. So we fight the butcher and all of his little minions here. And at the end, instead of getting either a blue, a purple, or a red buff, you'll get a gold star. I know, ironic, but whatever. And that one works against, it's a much better buff. Oh, and when you finish the butcher, all 3 will attack you at once. I usually try to take the AoE one out first, which is the purple one. And then after that, I'll take, usually I end up taking the blue one out next, because... well, just because. And see, now we have the gold star, so I'm going to go after the red one, just for no reason other than that's just the one I picked. As far as I know, there's no loot bonus or anything for taking any one particular color over the other. But, and so that, it really doesn't matter which one you pick as far as I know. And by all means, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So which one you pick doesn't matter, and sometimes you will get the butcher to spawn right after he spawns the last time, and if you do, you get the extra bonus for killing. You get the extra bonus from the damage bonus from the buff when you kill him, so you'll be able to kill him even faster. So if you're lucky enough to have the butcher spawn twice in a row, as far as I know, there is an increased chance of things like Tungrad earrings, or I'm sorry, Tungrad necklaces from the butcher. I do seem to get more from him than anybody else. So it's just a little added bonus. We weren't exactly lucky that time. We didn't get a Tungrad necklace that time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we won't get one next time. Tungrad necklaces do still sell pretty well, so you can make a pretty decent amount of money by selling Tungrads. Alright, so we have the blue one, so we're going to make our way over to the blue one. Keeping our eye on our weight as well. Because pretty soon I expect to get pretty close to being overweight. And then we'll fly back to our horse and we'll drop off what we have. Ah, purple. The purple is your magic AoE. The red is your melee AoE, and the blue one is just sort of a general AoE. Now we did get a message that, well, I'll be honest, I didn't see the message, so we'll just have to play it by ear. I believe that's the message that the despair is dissipated, so we won't have as many mobs on us. But I'm not positive about that, because it went by so fast, honestly, I did not see it. I least I didn't see it at a point. Ah, there we go. Despair that once found, Gyfin Rhasia is scattered into pieces. So basically what that means is we'll have less mobs, less of the trash mobs attacking us in the process. And while they will attack you, the little trash mobs, they do still do damage, but they don't do as much damage as the bosses. So you can kind of get around them and make your way to the boss in between. I haven't really found that to be much of a problem, to be quite honest. Okay, purple. They will chase you around. Part of the reason I like the Wukong class is because it's short-range melee AoEs, so it's very good in areas where the mobs will chase you around, and there's a whole bunch of them all at once. We can take advantage of the fact that there are a whole bunch of them and damage everybody all at the same time. Try to stay behind the boss as much as possible, mainly because it will reduce the mana damage they will do to you, and it will optimize the mana damage you do to them. It does get a little complicated when you've got a whole bunch of bodies on the floor that haven't despawned and you're trying to figure out which one you need to go to next. They were nice enough to make the icons for the boss mobs nice and bright and easy to see, especially since this area is kind of dark. Okay. Okay, so we got the notice that we're starting to get a little heavy, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to drop all of this at my horse. Take a second, and we're going to buy a firefly. Fireflies are good for an hour, and it helps to light up the area. Now, usually, we can get all the way there and then all the way back and still have enough time on the buff to take advantage. The buff does last for 60 seconds. So it doesn't it shouldn't take you that long to kill the boss. Killing the boss obviously resets the buff for the next boss. So we managed to do that one in less than 25 seconds. So that's pretty much the mechanics of the area. Goal is to kill the boss because that's what sets you up for the next encounter. I usually ignore the little mobs because as I'm knocking down the boss with AoEs, it also knocks the little mobs down as well, as long as you don't get too many of them, and your DP is high enough. While they will do damage to you, it's usually manageable. I also use hit point recovery on one of my AoE skills, basically just to increase survivability so that I can heal between attacks. The second AoE where he spins the staff around is the one that actually has the heal component on it, along with actually the mechanic of the game mechanic having a heal component on that particular skill to begin with. So I'm kind of double dipping on that. Never hurts to have a little extra healing. Never underestimate how useful that can be when you get yourself in a bind. Never forget to get behind the mob as often as you can when you're attacking. Which I'm kind of bad about that. A lot of times I get in the zone and I completely forget. So I'm sure we've all been guilty of that at one time or another, and I am not immune to that. I would never claim that I'm the best at playing this game. I think I do okay. I'm sure that people who do PvP would probably take me down pretty quickly because I'm not geared for PvP. And I'm not even the best at PvE, but I do okay. I would say that I probably do okay. Now that we have the Firefly going, you can see a little bit clearer what's going on. And it's a good idea to stay out of the AoEs from the purple mobs, or the purple boss. Those AoEs, especially if you have a lower DP or no ability to heal yourself, can hurt pretty badly. Now, one of the other things to keep in mind, we must have the Butcher again. Notice how even though I'm attacking AoEs next to the mobs, they're not attacking me back. That means that the Butcher spawned and I missed the message. So that's why I moved to the middle here, just to make things a little bit easier on myself. And there's the Butcher right there. Speak of the devil. Butcher's hit points are, because once he dies, all three of the boss mobs will attack you all at once. That can be a bad thing, because they do buff each other. And so they will do increased damage if they're close enough to each other. So we're back to normal mechanics again, and we have the purple buff, so we were lucky enough to get the purple one right here in the front. So for this particular instance, we didn't even need to move. It's always a good idea once you down the boss to check and see which one replaced it, because a lot of times you'll find that you're already standing in the right place. This particular grind spot is good because there's one pillar in the middle and there are 3 spots around the outside to make it just a little bit easier to see what's going on. There are 2 or 3 other spots that I know of for sure. They're good, not as good in my opinion, but they are still definitely serviceable if somebody's already here using this spot. I have used a couple of the other spots before, and while it is just a tad slower, it's not so bad that it's going to cause any kind of issues. I did just refresh the perfume buff, which is another 20 minutes. We have approximately 38 minutes on the buffs in total. So that means we have 37 or 38 minutes more of grinding this particular area. I usually grind an hour at a time. I'm sure some people would say, well, if you're already here, why don't you do more? Well, you can do that. There's no reason you can't. This just happens to be my particular style of play. I like to kind of spread it out and keep it from getting boring. I'm not a big fan of grinding. I do it when I have to. And a lot of times what I'll do is, if I'm not streaming it, I'll put music on in the background just to have, you know, to keep it more interesting. You don't necessarily have to do that, obviously, but it is a good way to kind of keep yourself motivated while you're doing it. That's something that's worked for me, and I'm sure it works for other people as well. So you're more than welcome to use that if you find that it works for you. I'm not a huge fan of grinding for hours at a time. I know there are lots of people that do that. I gotta be honest, I don't understand how they can do that. But more power to them. It's just not my thing. Okay, so we got the blue one again, so we got to go find the purple one. I also picked up the 2 quests from the node manager for this area, which gets you a few other little nice items that you'll need, especially if you're doing any horse training. You get amethyst, what do they call them? You get the little amethyst clusters for, what do we have here? That's a decimator, okay. You get the little amethyst clusters for horse training, so I usually pick those up because they give you a pretty reasonably decent amount. If you're not doing horse training, I believe you can sell the fruit that you get from trading those in. So it can be another form of income if that's the way you want to do things. And of course you get Kaffir stones, you get forest furies, which this area, forest furies are I won't say a common drop, but a relatively common drop. So if you're in need of forest furies for one reason or another, like if you're removing cups from a particular piece of equipment, this is a good way to get those so that you can actually create the item to remove them without destroying the cup. You can also get them at what we call trees, Murmok, but I found that they drop here quite a bit more often, or maybe it's just that there are more mobs here, so of course they're going to drop more often because you're killing more mobs. Starting to get overloaded again, so we're going to go out and we're going to drop off more stuff. Now, since the horse is already overloaded, what you have to do is you have to take the stuff off the horse first, and then it'll combine with what you already have, and then you put it back on. It's a way to keep all your stuff on the horse and not have to carry it around, and not have to visit a vendor to offload it because you're carrying too much weight. Freely admit that I am slightly overgeared for this area, so I don't take as much damage as you potentially could if your AP and DP was lower than mine. Not saying I'm awesome or anything, but my DP currently is 411. So I do take less damage from these guys at level 62 than I would if my DP is like in the 380s or 390s. I have done this area on a witch with that low of a DP, but that's mainly because the whole point of a witch is to not get hit. So I was well shielded. One of the disadvantages that Wukong has is that currently most of the skills give you super armor. They do not give you iframes. So while it does reduce the amount of damage you take, you do still take damage. So if you've got mobs that can do a huge amount of damage in a short amount of time, that can be problematic if you have super armor as opposed to just a straight up immunity to damage. A lot of people have complained about that. I really haven't seen it being too much of a problem just yet. Maybe later on, when we get to the new areas where the AP minimum is 350, that'll become more of a problem. Notice that I am taking damage, so I am definitely not immune to damage out here. Part of the reason I like this area is once you get the mechanics down for how you're supposed to handle this area, it's not that difficult to do. If you've got the correct gear score and you know what the mechanics are, this area is not too bad. It's pretty low risk. I don't find this to be as stressful as some people do. I actually kind of like this area, and once you figure out the mechanics of how to do the area, it's really not that difficult. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this, is to help people out and show them how it should be done, or how I do it. I suppose is probably the better way to put it. Good, same one again. The location of the mob and the buff you get seems to be random. I haven't found any pattern to it. So you do have to kind of keep an eye out, and sometimes you will get a run of 5 or 6 of these where the right mob spawns at where you already are in the right spot. And if they don't, it's not too much of a problem to move in between the 3 different locations. One of the things I do like about the Wukong is you can warp through mobs with your movement ability. So if you've got a mob in front of you blocking you, you can move your movement ability and get around them that way. Just waiting for the ability to reset, and off we go. I do find the blue one to be the easiest one, though truthfully none of them are all that difficult. The purple one can be kind of a pain if you're not paying attention to the AoEs, and the same thing with the red. The red's melee AoEs can be painful if you lose concentration. And it looks like we had the butcher again. Apparently, I did not see it. Oh no. Well, I take it back. Looks like we just managed to finish that one, and I just didn't notice. So I spoke too soon. Butcher's nice because while it is a little bit more of a pain to kill, the drop tables seem to be the rare drops seem to be a bit more common with the Butcher than it does with the regular boss mobs. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I do seem to get a few more ton grads from the Butcher than anywhere else. And we'll take a couple of minutes once we're finished here, in about 25 minutes or so, and we'll go through what we got, just so that we have some idea of what the loot table looks like. I can tell you that in an hour, on average, I usually get about 1 ton grad necklace. Maybe some other people have had better luck. My luck seems to be kind of hit or miss. Some days it's really good, some days it really sucks. That's just the way my luck runs normally. I've been getting a lot of the event drops, which is good because there's some very nice things you can get from the event drops. I'm working my way up the list, starting at the bottom ones that I want, and then working my way up to the more expensive ones as we go along, since this event has been going for a while. And we're starting to get overloaded again, so we're going to go back and we're going to, after we finish this mob, we'll go back and... Oh, he managed to knock me down that time. We actually have to be a little careful. Okay, so we're going to go back and drop another load on the horse. Currently at about 12,000 junk loot, which is good, because that's all cash money. Never complain about that. Okay, we just got the message that overwhelming despair is dissipating, which basically means all these extra mobs that we have been dealing with for a while now will now despawn. Or they won't respawn. I don't believe they actually despawn. I think they just don't respawn when you kill them like they do when it's going on. I don't know what to call it. The event, I guess. Alright. And the Butcher's up again. So let's see if we can get something decent out of the Butcher this time. Usually try to stay behind the Butcher to get the back attack in. All the ads are kind of annoying because it makes it hard to keep track of what's going on. But that's just part of the game. Wukong's two main AoEs do have kind of a big wind-up, which can be kind of a pain if you've got a mob that likes to jump around a lot. And make it so you have to end up having to chase them down. Okay, here we go. Hunt down the purple one. That one's the biggest pain. Once we get that one down, the others aren't too bad. There we go. So we have the star buff, so I'm going to go after the red one here, just because I want to. It goes goes down relatively quickly when you have that particular buff. The despair event active again, so that makes it a bit more of a pain to get in position because the mobs like to block you and push you around, which is really irritating when you're trying to get to the optimal position to take out the boss. Not impossible, just kind of annoying. Between the Wukong and a lot of the other classes is the Wukong doesn't have a standard awakening succession split. Wukong has a transformation which allows you to use the awakening, the awakening skills. So it's a little bit of a different animal, so to speak, than most of the other classes where you have to either pick succession or awakening. The awakening for the Wukong is basically a set of skills that you can't use if you're not in the fighting Buddha form, which is basically like the awakening form. So the easiest way to tell is if you take a look at the buffs on the bottom, there's one with a face with glowing eyes. That's the one that indicates which form you're in. I'm sorry that it's a little hard to see it. I didn't realize that the loot drop buff was over the top of my list of buffs, so it's a little hard to see, but it is there. Despair event is running right now, and that's the reason why we have a whole bunch of these little ads to go along with the boss mobs. Usually we have a few, but not nearly this many, and the reason we have this many right now is because of that event that it pops off at random times. Again, I haven't really come up with a way to gauge when it's going to and when it's not going to go. It seems to be random. If somebody's got other information, please feel free to share. finally got behind. Back into our transformation mode again. Not exactly sure how that got put away, but we managed to get it. We are getting overloaded, so we're going to have to stop and drop off more loot. That's where we're headed right now. We should get pretty close to 20k loot by the time this is over with. I believe I mentioned that earlier. If you have your horse parked in the right spot and time it right, you can actually finish off the mob, and with the buff, go all the way back, drop the stuff off on your horse, and make your way back out here before it runs out. Once you get the buff, unless you're done, you don't really want to let it lapse. Because it does add quite a bit of damage. It's not impossible to do it without the buff, it just makes it a little bit more annoying. And if you do it correctly and you get the correct back attack, I have found on the Wukong that 2 rotations of attacks will generally knock out any of the bosses. So here's our first rotation. Let's see if we can get lucky on this one. And here's our second rotation. So yeah, just about 2 rotations at 324 AP is about right. And that's with the regular buffs, not with the buff from the Butcher. The buff from the Butcher seems to do more damage. I haven't had time to stop and look at it, but it does seem to do more damage to the boss mobs than the regular buff does. The red boss, is a little bit tankier than the rest, so generally speaking it takes a bit more than 2 rotations on him. The blue one, it's kind of touch and go, and the purple one's usually not a problem. And keep in mind that I'm referring to my class, Wukong. If you're playing a witch or a mystic or some other class, it may work differently for you. You're going to have to sort of figure that part out for yourself. This is just to give you a starting point. See, we ran away, and it turned out the one we needed was right where we left. Okay, and we'll do our transformation as soon as we get in position on the next one. So we're going to do that right here. Transformation does have an AoE with a heal component. Looks like we have the Butcher again, because the boss is not moving. That's usually a pretty good indication that the Butcher spawned, if you miss the message. Part of the problem with mobs that jump away. Like I said before, the wind-up on the AoE can be a bit slow, and a lot of times they will jump away before you have a chance to actually attack. Boss, because sometimes she's a little hard to spot. And we'll just do this one this time because we're already here. We've got about 8 minutes left on our buffs. We'll do a conclusion at that point. We have the Butcher again. Good. And on a high note. We'll get a ton grab this time. have to be careful. This is where it gets dangerous. If we're overloaded when we're getting attacked by the 3 bosses, that is what happens. Unfortunately. Which is kind of annoying, but I suppose it was bound to happen. Especially when we are this overloaded. We got that overloaded that quickly. We went from 110 to 137% in less than 2 minutes. However, I do believe that wraps it up for us. Would have liked to have ended on a higher note, but well, sometimes it just doesn't work out. So we ended up with almost 21,000 junk loot at 25k each. We also ended up with 2 Forest Furies and a bunch of Spirit Stones, which I usually grind those down. We did end up with 50 Kaffir Stones, which is pretty good. I will be going to the NPC and turning in the 2 quests. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to bore you guys with the trip over there. But that's pretty much what it comes down to. Sorry that I had to kind of screw it up there at the end. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to post. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.